Hi, my name is Charles Rath. I'm the Vice President of Sales for Strother Archery. This is Mitch Badgerow, our Director of Engineering. Today we're going to go through the steps of timing and tuning a Strother bow.
We have here the 2012 Strother Archery Wrath. A couple of features we're going to talk about on this new Badger cam is the adjustable hard draw stop, the interchangeable draw length modules, which will allow you to interchange draw lengths in half-inch increments, and then our overdraw protection post here. As you can see, there is a corresponding number on the outer perimeter of the cam that will correspond to the draw length module. This allows overdraw protection to allow the bow not to lock up during tuning. You will take and move the peg to the corresponding number that is on the module. At that point, we will set the hard stop for the cam, and we will go through that here shortly. Okay, today we'll be going through the timing and the tuning of a 2012 Strother Archery Wrath. There's a couple of dimensions that we need to take a look at before we start, and that is the axle to axle and the brace height. That'll give us a general idea of the current shape of the bow. We'll first measure the axle to axle, which is center of axle to center of axle, and this one is at 32 inches. Brace height is at 8 1/16, which is within the manufacturer's specifications. Okay, for the next portion of our tuning of this 2012 Wrath, we are going to use the vertical draw board. With this, we'll be able to measure draw length and draw poundage. We'll get that set up here. All right. Now, while drawing this bow back, I always keep an eye on the poundage and do not worry about the draw length. Always monitor the poundage as you're going along. And we will take this back to full draw. What we're going to be looking for is our overdraw protection post to come into contact with each corresponding cable at the same time. This will tell us that the bow is in sync. We bring that up, take a look, and see right where we're touching. And both cams are touching that at the same time. Our holding weight is a little bit more than the 80% let off, but that is there for adjustment and variations in each shooter. So from here, we will bring the bow back down, just about half draw, and then redraw it back and bring it to the 80% let off holding weight, which should be right around 12.2 pounds for this 60-pound Wrath. And at that point, we will take a look and see what our draw length measures. On this particular bow, it's going to be 29 inches and some change, probably about 29 and a 16th. So we have very close. Right now, we will take, since the bow is in time, draw weight looks correct, and the draw length corresponds with the draw length module that we have into it, what we will do now is set the hard stops. With this, this will be our adjustment here. We will make sure these are loose and make sure that they are on the back side of the cam so they do not interfere during drawing against the limb. Another reason for watching the scale, so that if you see a poundage start happening sooner than what it should, then we know there's something interfering. Just like that. Alright, so now we will take it up to our 80% let off. And set the draw stops. And I just snugged those down for the initial setting. Once I get the bow released from the draw board, I will then tighten those down, and at this point we will shoot it to make sure that it reaches speeds and there is no inherent vibration or anything that may feel out of place during the shot. What we're going to do now is check the factory setting on the Super Glide itself. From factory, they are set to their optimum position. One of the advantages of the Super Glide is that there is no moving parts. They allow less restriction to the cables, and they reduce torque on the riser at full draw because of the angled slots. As you can see, as far as the factory setting, take a look at the take-up cable coming off of the top cam, which will be the inside groove closest to the arrow. That should be right close to the beginning of the groove. Now, to move that and set that to check that setting, loosen these two bolts here and slide it back and forth. You will see it pull tension onto the cables, allow it to come back forward, and then give it a slight push. This way the front edge of the glide is not restricting the cable. Now, if need to be changed, have to press this bow to change the Super Glide. We will do that right now. What we'll have to do is remove the take-up cable from the top cam, slide him through the glide, and then just replace that so we don't lose any twists while we're working on the cable glide. Now we take off the take-up cable from the bottom cam, pull him out, and then just rehook him back up to make sure we don't lose those twists. Loosen these two screws and remove. At that point you can change it out, inspect for any wear. To reinstall, the slots will be angled towards the cable rod, so we will install it that way right now. First, take the take-up cable from the bottom cam and we will feed it to the slot closest to the cable rod. Then we'll take the take-up cable from the top cam, slide it through the slot furthest from the cable rod, making sure all strings are in their grooves respectively. We don't have to worry about setting the glide right now. Let's relieve the pressure on the bow. At this point you can see that the cable glide is not in position. What we will do now, bring it forward. You'll see a little bit of tension go against the take-up cable to the top cam. Bring it off of that, relieve that tension, allow approximately a 16th of an inch gap at the front side of the glide, and then lock down the two locking screws at this point. Alright, after doing the initial tune on the draw board and checking to make sure that these cams are in sync, we will now take this 29-inch 60-pound rath and shoot it through the chrono. I have installed a 2-prong rest with a brass knock. This bow is currently shooting at the high end of our spec. There is nothing felt in the shot that would lead me to have to go back to the draw board and check it out. We will shoot it a couple more times and verify and get an average speed onto it. Right now we are going to go through and change this draw length module to change this rath from a 29-inch draw to a 28-inch draw. Here I have the 28-inch draw module, which will be a number 7. First, what we will do is move the overdraw protection peg to number 7 so we don't forget at the end of the process to do that. From this point here, we will now press the bow and remove 3 screws each on each end of the cam for each module. The let-out cable is connected to the module itself, so we must take care when we remove that to install the new module so that we do not lose any twists. From here, we'll make sure that the cables and the string are roughly seated into their corresponding grooves before we move to the other side. We will do this side just like we did the previous side. Making sure all screws are tightened down, we can now release the bow from the press. Make sure all cables and strings are seated in their respective grooves before releasing the bow. Now at this point, since we have changed the draw length module, we will now have to readjust the draw length stop. At this point, we'll just loosen it and very lightly snug it to the back side of the cam. That way it will stay out of our way when we're drawing it back onto the draw board. At this point, we will now draw the bow back on the draw board, double check our sync position, and make sure the cams are still synchronized. Now we are going to go through and take a look at this bow here in particular. I have taken it out of sync, so we are going to go through and show what the bow will look like and what to look for when the bow is dramatically out of sync. First, we will be using our draw board. In this particular bow, if you'll notice, it is already pulled up. It's only a 60-pound bow, and this is the first indication that something may be out of sync is a heavy draw weight. Usually that will tell us that the cam, one or two, both of the cams are too far advanced. What we will do is monitor the draw weight all the way through and just lightly creep up onto it when we start to get to our let off position. As you can see here, I am touching on this draw stop, and I have close to 3/16 to a 1/4 inch gap before this draw stop on the top cam will hit the cable. This tells me that this top cam is advanced. At this point here, remember which cam it is that is advanced, and we will take it to the press and take one twist out at a time until you feel comfortable with removing twists or adding twists to relocate and resync this cam. After verifying on the draw board that this cam system is out of sync, we will now remove twist from the top cam, because that is the one we had identified that was advanced. And since our draw weight was heavy compared to what it should be, we should work on the advanced cam before we would work on the cam that is retarded. With the top cam being the one that is advanced, we will take the take-up cable and remove twist from this. It is recommended that we do one twist at a time. What I'll do is I'm going to remove two, and then we will show the difference between what it was before. So we remove two twists, always keeping in mind and noticing which way the twists are in the cables. At this point here, we will now draw the bow back again. To see how much more, if any, that we will need to adjust it. Currently, right now, we know we are heading in the right direction because the draw weight has decreased by about 1.5 pounds. So we will monitor our weight, bring it down close to our let-off position, and then we will let the stops touch the cable. We notice that this one is touching just like previous, and the gap between this post and the cable is now half as much as what it was before. So that tells us that we are approximately maybe 1 to 2 more twists out of sync. So we will remove another 2 twists, 1 twist if you're not as comfortable with it. And we'll see if we can get this guy back in sync. We will remove 2 more twists from the take-up cable on the top cam. Watching the weight, we do notice now that it has dropped another approximately ½ pound. So we are within the allowable range for draw weight on this 60-pound bow. And we are close to our let-off position, and now we will watch for the pegs to touch the cables. Back it off and then bring it back in. Now it looks as if the bow is in sync. This particular one had 4 too many twists into the take-up cable on the top cam. We verify that our draw length is correct for the module that we are on. Holding weight is a little bit more than lower than what we would see, so we need now to set it at 80% let off. We will do this with the hard stops on the cam. Bring it down to the recommended percentage let off for this weight. And that is approximately 12 to 12.2 pounds. Set our hard stops. And verify the draw length. Draw length is now at 28 inches. We'll now remove the bow and tighten down the draw stops and then shoot it through the chronograph to make sure that it is meeting the specifications that we have set forth for this model. Today we went through tuning and syncing the cams on the 2012 Strother archery bows. For additional information, you can refer to our tuning manual here for step-by-step instructions for the whole tuning process that we have also covered here today.
You're 100% right, Mitch. There's going to be several people with questions that go above and beyond what we covered today. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at our 1-800 number or reach us at strotherarchery.com and let us help you extend your range.